Hi, y'all. Happy Wednesday. I'm excited for this conversation. Let me see if I can pull this up in the group and I will give you a little update. So, today we're going to be talking about my sales secrets. And I say secrets in air quotes always because obviously you and I know there are no effing secrets. You are the secret. But I'm going to share my sales philosophy and approach that has given me a 92.3% booking rate or conversion rate recently. And obviously that number might change based on what numbers we're looking at, but based on the last 13 sales calls I've had, so consultations, not free calls, I have booked 12 of those. So that's where that number is coming from for context. And we're going to talk about what that philosophy and approach is that also leaves clients feeling good, because I think sometimes we feel like in business it has to be one or the other, right? Either you have to be like a shark and like kind of manipulative and have crazy sales tactics, or you get to have an approach that actually feels good and in integrity. But it's like it can't work and make you money if you're also being in an integrity and it also feels good. I just want to just debunk that myth. Okay, cool. I see myself here in the group so that I can respond to things. I'm jumping in right away today because I know I always want to chit chat, but I do have a call right after this and I feel like I have a lot I want to cover. Okay, now I'm chit-chatting, but my stepson is playing hooky from school today. He got permission from his mom. So he unexpectedly showed up today. So I know I'm gonna have background noise in a moment. So I'm like, I wanna get this class in for y'all before we have all of the distractions. So I'm like extra focused. And this also just feels like a really important conversation because I know for my clients, for all of you, right? Sales, whether we want to admit it or not, knowing how to sell and knowing how to sell and knowing how to create conversions in your business is where the money in your business comes from. And obviously we're going to talk about there's different parts to that. I'm big on creating a sales process, having a customer journey, having a holistic marketing strategy, that there are multiple pieces to that. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how to create conversions, we can just focus on tinkering on your website and rewriting your landing pages 500 fucking times, and that's not going to make a difference. So this is just, I feel like, such an important conversation. But I think the other reason this is so important is I find for so many of my clients, the reason they resist talking about sales or talking about what's creating conversions or what they need to lean into to create more conversions is because it feels slimy, icky, pushy, manipulative. And so I just want to talk about how you get to have both. You get to have your business success cake and eat it too. You do not have to be a slimy, gross person to be able to make great money and have great conversions in your business. In fact, one of the number one things clients say when they hire me is that they want me to teach them how to sell the way I essentially sold them, because it felt so good to them in my sales process. I cannot tell you how many clients have said that to me and how many clients have sold me on sales calls. And I'm not saying this as like a bragging thing where it's like people sell me and yay, but I just to give you some evidence here as to like that's how good sales can feel. You can have sales conversations where you're not trying to convince someone and the person on the other side is actually convincing you why it's a good fit. I think that is when things get to feel really good in business. And I just want to be an example and model that both are possible, but also to share some nuances as to what makes that happen. Before I dive into all the things, quick reminder, if you're live with me and you say hi, all you gotta do is any comment allows you to win. I'm gonna give away one copy of my 7-figure sales action cheat sheet. This is a Google document I give to my clients that walks you through direct and indirect sales actions that you can take, and it helps my people to have higher conversions, but also to get fully booked, fill out wait lists, sell their programs. So I will give that away to one person. You just gotta let me know you're here. And then as always, I'm doing this for you. So if anything doesn't make sense, if you have a question, interrupt me. If I'm kind of on a tear and a rant, I will circle back and make sure I get to your question and that I can answer that. Okay, so I'm going to dive into 3 things today. I want to talk about what this sales philosophy and approach is and how it's super strategic, but how it also gets you what you want with like those conversions, but it also works better than the pushy and manipulative slimy sales tactics. I'm going to dive into the number one. I actually have a couple extra, but the number one factor that increases conversion rates that I think most business owners, they don't know about it. I think it's just easy when you're in scarcity or fear or in hustle mode or trying to fill your business. I think it's almost easy to lose the plot, so to say, or to miss the forest for the trees. So we're gonna talk about that. And then if we have time, I wanna dive into the easiest sales strategy that I think most entrepreneurs either miss or get wrong. And not to say you're doing something wrong, but just since I'm auditing and supporting clients with their sales process all day, every day. This is just something that I'm constantly noticing and giving clients support around and feedback around. And what is just like an easy adjustment you can make to this strategy that is going to increase your conversions exponentially. Like I cannot even tell you how much more money, if you lean into this strategy, your business will make. It is actually kind of mind blowing. Like it is like I was talking about this with a client yesterday. Sometimes I'm still like blown, like my mind is still blown by like how well some of this stuff works. Okay, let me have a sip of water. If you're listening to this in the vault, I know you can't ask me questions. The vault, by the way, is my private podcast feed. If any of you want to be able to get this replay and podcast access, just comment the word. I'll drop a link for that in the Facebook group afterwards. And if you're in the vault listening to this, I know you're not listening to this live, but just remember you're on my email list. That means you can always hit reply to an email and send me any questions around this. And I'll either respond to you personally. I love hearing from you. You can message me in the DM, same thing, or I will use that question as a topic for a future conversation that will be live and then in the vault as well. Okay, so the sales approach that I have cultivated over the years. I've been coaching for 10 years in business for 8, and I have refined this process year after year after year. I used to call my approach and my philosophy to sales a heart-centered sales approach, and then that morphed into a service-based sales approach, and I now am shifting that again. And the reason for that is I am like the most heart-centered human being. I'm sure all of you are. I'm a bleeding heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve. But I find when I talk about sales and when we look at it through the lens of being heart-centered, I find for us folks who are heart-centered, which is I'm sure pretty much everyone here, in some ways that can have us shrink back. And in some ways that can still paint the narrative, I think for so many of us, that we like have to make sure we're super heart-centered. Like we have to do something different and that selling is bad and that otherwise it isn't heart-centered. And with the service-driven approach, the same thing, but I find sometimes I can get a little squirrely and sometimes almost in some spaces, I don't think anyone here, but I think it can almost be used in a way where it's like we're making everything that gets someone to pay us money of service. Now look, I think selling is of service. If you have an offer that can solve someone's problem and help someone get a result, I absolutely think that is of service. Just like I think asking for money in exchange for your services is of service, because when we have some skin in the game, we tend to show up differently. All of these things are true. And I find sometimes that languaging can get twisted and used in a manipulative way to try to convince people to buy, or that they have to buy, because that's if we convince someone to buy and we push them to buy, that's being of service, and that is like what makes someone a good person. I think you can just get a little squirrely there. Anyway, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but just so you can understand why I've kind of like shifted this. And I also just to give permission to all of us. We have bodies of work, we have thought leadership, and as we lean into our work more and we iterate it more and we support clients with it more, we run people through programs more, right? We just see more nuances and things tend to evolve. And so the way I've been thinking about sales recently and really supporting my clients around this, and this is, I think, the approach I've always taken, but I've just been leaning into it that much more in my business. And just because we've been more full, I love to give free coaching sessions when I can. We did quite a few last year. I just haven't been able to give away as many. So I've just had far more consultations or sales discovery calls as the entry point into working with me. So I'm also just thinking about this. So when I have a free coaching session, obviously you can talk to me about working together, but it's not necessarily the same thing as having a sales conversation and a discovery call where I'm having a whole conversation with someone about what it is going to be like to work together. And so I've just been thinking about this more and kind of analyzing my approach more. What is having people say they want me to teach them sales or sell me and tell me why I'm the person they want to hire? Like, what are the factors into that? And what is... I haven't been in that many people's sales processes because I tend to hire people and work with them for a long time. I talk about this all the time, but I just renewed with my coach. We've worked together for 6 years, so I'm going on 6.5 years. It's not like I'm having a new sales conversation with her every time. My team members have been on my team for a while, so kind of the same thing. So I'm more looking at, I obviously don't know what everybody's sales approach is, but I think this is not something I hear other people talking about in terms of the approach for sales, but there might be people who do. But the way I've really been thinking about it and framing it is empathetic sales. I think I talked about this in one of our previous master classes. So I'm just going to give you the definition of empathy, and then I'll explain what I mean, and then I'm going to walk you through why this, I find, just gives you both gets you clients who feel really great in the sales process. And if clients feel really great in the sales process, that also means you're going to have a higher retention rate and a higher re-sign rate and a higher number of people who are singing your praises and referring clients to you. Right? It's one thing to get a sale because you've convinced someone. It's another thing to keep a sale. And I think part of the problem we have in our industry is people know how to get a sale, but their retention rate sucks, or they have a lot of people who feel like they got a bait and switch and are really fucking frustrated in the program they signed up for. So that's what we're gonna be talking about here. But empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Now, I'm always really mindful here when we're talking about sales. What this means is the ability to understand someone and understand their feelings, right? It's sort of like being able to put ourselves in someone's shoes. What I want to be mindful of is when I'm talking about this does not mean taking on someone's experience. I think especially for those of you who are coaches, therapists, who are in more of the healing services, I really want to be we could almost call this sympathetic sales, but I think sympathy is more about having pity on someone, and empathy is more about I can put myself in your shoes and understand where you're coming from and see the world, through your lens without taking it on myself. Because I know if you're empathetic, that is something, it's a whole nother conversation. I did a live stream talking more about how I'm able to hold 20 to 25 clients. And I think this is one of those things, understanding the difference between empathy and taking all of someone's feelings on. So I want to be mindful of that nuance there. And again, let me know as I'm talking through this if you have any questions. But I think, I mean this in a couple of different ways. And this is how I really see this, change your sales approach and increase your conversions, but also, again, increase conversions on your discovery calls, on your sales calls with people who are a great fit and who want to work with you and who want to stick around and who are so excited to be there. So the first thing is, what I always remind clients is that the goal for you in your sales process and a sales conversation is not to get a sale. And I feel like that's like, wait a second, Kim, you're talking about your 92.3% conversion rate and you're saying your goal isn't to get a sale. My goal when I have a sales conversation is not to get a sale. That is like literally not the focus for me when I have a sales conversation at all. And I actually want you to hear that, because that's not necessarily what the main core of this conversation, but I actually think that helps me to sell more, because I'm not trying to get anyone to do anything. I don't want to work with clients who don't want to be here. I am very big on holding people to my contract, but if someone didn't want to be in my contract, I would let them out, because I'm not trying to get anyone to do anything. I'm not trying to get a sale. And I actually think that is what helps you to be a better salesperson if we're taking the empathetic sales approach. Because when I think about sales and when I think about the goal of a sales process and a sales conversation, I think it is all about the person we are selling to, and our job is to help that person get clear on what it is they want and what is the solution for what they want. And then once they're clear on what they want, can we support them to make a decision to move towards that? So if what they want is what you're offering, then yes, we want to support them to make the decision to buy, invest in the thing you're offering, because they're saying that's what they want. If they get clear on what the thing they want is not what you're offering, we want to support them to make a decision to move towards what it is they want, which is not to hire or buy from you. Sometimes I am literally telling people on a sales conversation the reasons they maybe shouldn't hire me, right? Because I'm not trying to get a sale. I'm trying to help someone get clear on what it is they want and to make a decision to move towards that. And I think that alone, if you take that approach and philosophy to sales, changes everything. It takes you out of the pushy, desperate, needy energy. You stop trying to convince people. You stop trying to get a sale, right? If we think about trying to get anything, that's a very chasey energy, which tends to push people away. This is not where I want to take this conversation, but I'll just share one nugget here. All of you have been on the other side of someone who really needs the sale, or someone you've had a date with who really is just trying to get you to like them, or who really just is looking for someone to marry, as opposed to getting clear on if you are the right fit for them to be in a relationship with or to marry, right? And what you want in the relationship as well. It feels, none of us like to be chased. I mean, maybe we could say in dating some people do, but none of us like it when someone is just trying to convince us to do something and just wants something because they want that end goal and really isn't taking into account what's right for us, right? None of us like that. On the other side, that's what empathetic sales is about. It's remembering, it's putting yourself into the shoes of your potential client and remembering, what does it feel like when you are making a buying decision, when you're making an investment decision? What actually feels good? It feels good to have someone support you to get clear on what you want and not try to pressurize you into something. It feels good to have someone walk you through the decision. It feels good to be followed up with. It feels good to have someone support you, get clear on what's right for you and true for you, as opposed to what's right for them, right? I mean, I think this all tracks. But that's really what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about selling. And first and foremost, the way it's easiest for me to be empathetic is to remember, at the end of the day, this isn't really about me, right? It's so great that I get to benefit when I partner with clients, when someone hires me, because of course that means my offer is working, that means my business is working, that means I get to make money, like all of those things. But those are all benefits, right? Like those are benefits for me. That's not actually, like they're side benefits, they're fringe benefits. That's not actually the fucking goal of sales or sales conversation. Excuse my French. I think I get a little amped up around this. Y'all are quiet around here. So hoping this means you're taking notes and this is landing, but again, just let me know if you have questions. Sorry about this. So I think just remembering that part. And so with empathy, I'm really thinking about that in terms of how can I have empathy for the person I'm speaking. Well, let me reverse this. The first thing I'm thinking about then is if empathy is all about the ability to understand and share the feelings of someone else, and if I know that my goal as a salesperson is to help someone get clear on what they actually want to make a decision and to move towards that decision, if I'm taking the empathetic lens, then it's all about me trying to actually understand the person in front of me. I've shared this before. I share this in my sales course, Sell Out Without Feeling Like a Sellout, which y'all is $99 on my website. It's a 6-week sales course. You can grab it. It's like basically free. But one of the things I share is I really try to take the mindset and approach of I don't know shit. And I mean, I know so much in that I'm an expert in what I do and I'm great at supporting people. But if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I don't know shit. I don't know them. I can't make assumptions about them, where they're at, what they need in their business, even, if they can afford or not afford or what's true for them, right? There's so many assumptions we often make when we're in the sales seat. And so I take the mindset of I don't know shit, and it's my job to be curious and to find out. But with that, I'm really trying to take that lens of, and how can I do so in a really empathetic way that's really trying to listen and understand the person in front of me and trying to share the feelings with this person. I mean, we could say that's building rapport, which is a sales skill, but really and truly, I really think so much of that is the approach is all about how can I listen, hear, understand, get to know this person in front of me, and again, get to understand what they actually want and help them move towards that. Because if I can understand their feelings and what's going on, not take their feelings on, but that's also going to give me some insight into if they're saying they want to work with me, but they've got some feelings coming up around, it feels scary, they've been burned in the past, they are scared to invest that much, but whatever the normal things that come up for people, right? I cannot make it about me. But I can also do my job, if I'm taking an empathetic sales approach, to really try to understand what's going on for someone, support them with those feelings. And if I've done my work to understand what they actually want, it's that they want to work with me, right? Then I can really, from a place of integrity, if I am trying to understand their feelings, also try to understand what they need to feel safer, to feel clear, to feel confident moving towards what it is they want, which is to hire me. Hopefully that's tracking there. So that's the first way I think about the empathetic sales approach. The other thing there is what I was starting to say earlier is I really try to think about and remember and to have empathy for what it's like to be in a buying or investment decision, especially a high ticket buying or investment decision. Many of you, if you're in this group, have high ticket offers. I know not everyone does, and it's fine. This is not all offer sell right now. I feel like there's so much noise around only high ticket sell or only low ticket sells. All offers sell. They're just different business models and require different strategies. Anyway, I digress. But many of us do have high ticket offers, and I do think there's a bigger stretch we're asking people to make when they're making a high ticket investment. And I think sometimes where we sort of lose the plot, so to say, in a sales conversation, and where I just see a lot of people miss out on serving really great clients, is there's just such a lack of empathy for the person they're selling to and what it's like to be in that buying decision and to think about making a high ticket investment. I think sometimes it can we can get into this place where it's like, well, you should just know that I'm so great, or if you believed in your business, you should, or yourself, you're not all selling things to business owners, but you just believed in yourself enough, you should just want to hire me, or I'm so great, you should just want to throw thousands of dollars at me. And with almost this forgetfulness of what it was like maybe the first time we all invested. I know I share this sometimes with clients or potential clients even. I remember when I first hired my coach, so I've been working with her just renewed for 6 years, going on to 6.5 years. So at this point, right, it's very easy. We built a relationship, we built the trust. I'm now been in business for a long time. I have the cash flow. It's pretty easy for me to make those investment decisions and trust myself. When I first invested in my coach, I was making $800 per month in my business. My pay the bills job like barely covered my New York City rent after like expenses and health insurance and all of those things, right? I'm not even exaggerating. I really did not have enough for more than like 1 cup of coffee per month. I know that sounds so dramatic, but it just really is the truth. I do not recommend starting your business while also starting over in one of the most expensive cities in the world, which is New York City. But it worked for me, but maybe not like the easiest path for everyone. But that was the place I was sitting in. And I remember I really wanted to work with my coach. It had nothing to do with her not being good or me not trusting her. But we, when I came up for renewal, because the first time I worked with her for 6 months, it was in a kind of like scholarship program where I paid a 20% revenue share, and then I was up for renewal. And so like, I think even that's like more nuance and evidence there. It's like, I definitely trusted the coaching process, but I was still making like about $800 per month. I wasn't like a quick success. It's not like in 6 months of coaching, like my business blew up. I had a lot of mindset trash to work through, y'all, like a lot. The strategy was just fine. I've had the same strategy, the same offer for 8 years. Mindset, not so much. If you want some evidence that mindset makes like 80 to 90% of the difference in your business. But I was in this place where I really, like, I actually wanted to make the investment. I knew the benefit. Like, I knew that's what I wanted. That's what I needed to, like, be able to get me to the next level in business. And it was such a stretch for me. And I trusted myself to, like, figure out the stretch and, like, to be financial. But it was such a stretch for me financially. I did not have the money in the bank. And, like, I really had to do some digging in and have some conversations and, like, get super resourceful. I ended up borrowing a little bit of money. I ended up picking up I was working at my 9 to 5 at the time while building my business, and I had a serving job at a club in the meatpacking district that was helping me cover my bills. And I ended up picking up extra shifts and actually picking up an extra job where not that you needed all the nuance, but I think it's like sometimes helpful or interesting to hear, where I would like go to like wine shops and like do like taste testing of vodka and then sell people on vodka. And I sold so many, y'all, this is a side brag at my sales skills, but I sold so many that the person who was in charge of the company would call up the shop I was at, because I got paid on commission, to confirm that I wasn't lying because my numbers like didn't make sense anyway. So a little pat on the back. I'm very good at sales. And I was kind of taking the same approach then that I'm taking here with the empathetic sales. I'm not trying to push or convince people of anything. And that's what worked at that wine and liquor shop. That's what works in sales here. But going back to making that investment, I just so remember what that was like and what that process was like. And I really try to keep that in mind when I'm having a conversation with someone, and to have empathy for them and to understand the feelings they might be having or what they might be going through, or some of the crunchiness or some of the fear, and not take it on or make it mean anything about me or the offer or our potential, like the potential of us working together, and just to have empathy for it and see how normal it is. And I find when I can do that, then I can support them, right? Because then I can understand what they're going through. Then I can support them with what they need, not try to convince them, not try to push them into anything, but have the right conversation for what they need to be able to make the decision that's right for them. But if I am like, oh my gosh, it's been 8 years since I've done that and I can't forget that, and it's like, you should just know I'm so amazing and hire me and throw money at me. Or like, if you just believed in your business so much, you would invest in a coach or whatever, like, I don't know. I don't even know what the teachings are anymore, but whatever some of the things we hear are, I think if I was just in that place, I don't think I'd have a 92.3% conversion rate on my sales calls. I honestly think that would turn a lot of people off, because that's not even the right conversation. That's not what they need. They need someone to help them, to meet them where they're at, to see them and like what the decision is, and to be able to walk through that with them. So I really and truly think not only is it something that if it's more empathetic, it feels better. It feels better for you as a whatever you might not be a coach, you might not be a therapist, you might be an OBM, whatever it is you're selling. I think it feels better for us on the sales side, but I know because clients tell me it feels so much better on the potential client side. But it also converts better, right? Because again, to what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, no one wants to be sold to. No one likes to be convinced. No one likes to feel like they're being manipulated. No one likes to feel like they got tricked into buying something, or that they're like, that someone basically made them feel bad about themselves and was like, you have to do this to like prove that you want this badly enough, or that you believe in yourself badly enough, or like this is the only way you're gonna get the results you want. Like I don't know anyone that, even if that works and it makes the sale, that has them feel really great in that decision, right? I mean, that kind of thing obviously works, otherwise people wouldn't do it. But just because something works doesn't mean that it is the best option or the right thing to do, or the option that's even going to convert at the highest level. And I've just really seen how taking that empathetic approach is not only what feels the best, but it's what converts the best. It is, and it's also super strategic, because at the end of the day, right, sales is all about human psychology. It's all about people. It's all about relationship building. It's all about knowing the person in front of you. And if we're not making sales about trying to get the sale, but about helping someone get clear on what it is they want to make that right decision, right? Because we want to keep a sale and have happy, right fit clients. Like, I want happy money. I want happy money from happy clients, not from people I've like tricked into something. Side note, very good book called Happy Money by Ken Honda that talks about that concept that I love. Anyway, lots of tangents and sidetracks today, but all of that there, I just want you to connect the dots and to see how, because I think empathy can almost feel like too much of a feel-good, fluffy word, but I really see this as the most strategic approach, and I think the proof is in the pudding and in the results. Okay, let's see here. Was there anything? Oh, there was one other piece. I'm just going to see. Do I have questions for y'all? No questions. Great. So I'm just going to keep sharing here. So the other... Oh, no, okay. Oh, hey, Madeline. Nice to see you here. The comments are coming up late, but it's so nice to see you here. Let me know if you have questions on this. The other piece before I pivot on to the what increases those conversion rates and the strategy that I like can't speak to enough. But with the empathetic approach to sales, something I really take on, and I think this maybe sounds counterintuitive, or like this wouldn't be an effective sales strategy, but I think if we're thinking through the lens of how can I have empathy for what it's like for someone to be in the sales process, but also empathy in terms of what is someone thinking, what are they going through, what do they actually want, aside from like the idea of like, I don't know shit and I need to find that out in a sales conversation, I really take the approach with people in a sales conversation in that I don't know yet if someone should hire me. I don't know yet what's best for the person in front of me. If they don't know what they want yet and what's best for them, how could I possibly know that, right? And I think that's an empathetic approach, in that I think it is just so interesting. I don't even know the right word, but I think it's just so interesting for us to take the mindset and approach where we just already assume we know what is right for another human, and that we're just assuming that like we are the right solution for everyone. Look, I think I'm an excellent coach, but I'm an excellent coach and the right solution for the people I'm the right fit for, right? That's who I'm the best fit for. And for those people, yes, I think I'm the best investment they could make in their business. And that's, I think, why I have clients who've worked with me for 4 or 5 years, right? For such a long time. I am not the best coach. I am not the right fit for every person. I'm also not the right solution for every person, even if they're the right fit as a human and they're an amazing person that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you. Like, I want to go hang out with you and get coffee with you. I might not be the right solution for what they need currently in their business, for the problem they currently need to solve. And so that is part of the empathetic approach and process. If we think about empathy as, again, the ability to understand and share the feelings of someone else. But with that, I'm really wanting to see is like, I really do need to try to understand and have some empathy for that. And I also want to have empathy for what it's like to, again, be in the buying and sales process, and to remember that it can feel, I think it can feel really shitty when you're on the other side and someone's just trying to sell at you and tell you why they know what's right for you, as opposed to trying to find out from you what you think is right for you. I hope that difference makes sense. And I think that's where we get to where we get to bring in this concept and have some empathy, where it's like, how can we have empathy for what it feels like to be sold at and told at? And like, I do think there are people who happily give power away and would love for someone to just be like, here are the things you need. But I think when we take that empathetic approach where it's like, I need to find out. I can't just come in here assuming that I am right for every single human and that this like should be a yes. Obviously, if we have pre-qualifying processes and screening questions and different things, usually by the time someone gets on a call with me, I'm assuming that we're probably a fit. But I think there's such a win to actually treating a consultation or a discovery call like a discovery process. And then again, having empathy for what it's like to be sold at or told at, right? Like I don't know any of us who like to be told what to do or what's right for us, right? It's such a different thing. At least if we can have empathy for that and put ourselves in someone's shoes, it's so different when it feels like we're discovering that together. If we can have empathy for the process for that person, right? Like, and when we're discovering together, this is the right fit, because I now actually have done the work to understand what you need, and I'm actually really clear that this is the right solution and fit, and that's also the solution and fit that you want. So, again, I think just taking that mindset and approach, I know it sounds almost like it would be a lack of confidence, but I think it's one of the most confident ways to show up to a sales conversation, is knowing that you're awesome and your offer is awesome, and that for the right people who are the right fit, it is the best investment, right? I definitely have that confidence. If I'm the right fit for you, I know we can go crush it in business and I can help you make money, like abso-fucking-lutely. But to go in with the empathy and the humbleness and just the curiosity and the discovery process of, and I don't know yet if this is the right fit, let's find that out together. I think that is so strategic, but also ends up feeling really good for people on the other side and will lead to more conversions from the people who are the right fit for your offer. Okay, let me go on to the next parts, because otherwise I'll just like want to hit you all over the head with that piece. Okay, so the number one factor that increases conversion rates big time that most business owners miss. So I actually have three things here. It's really one thing, but I feel like I want to give nuance around this, and I'm sharing my sales secrets for a 92.3% conversion rate. So I'll tell you what the core thing is that I think helps a lot for that actual conversion rate. But I think two pieces that people often forget about that really lead to high conversion rates and that lead to great sales is a great offer and great delivery of your offer. Because that's not necessarily going to impact the initial conversion rate, but you have to remember, when you have a great offer and you have great service and delivery, what that means is you get great testimonials and you get great referrals. And when you have someone book a consultation with you or a discovery call with you who's come from a referral, right, who's come from someone singing your praises, who's come from reading your testimonials, they're already that much more likely to hire you. I just had someone who I'm actually starting with today, which I'm really excited, who came to me because she posted looking for a business coach in a Facebook group, and someone I worked with 8 years ago, the start of my business, 8 years ago, was singing my praises, right? And that's how she found out about me. But then she went to my website, and my website, said the things that were in alignment, and she read all of my testimonials. So by the time she got on a call with me, she was already pretty sure I was the right fit for her. And so I think we just forget, right? I delivered a great service and a great offer 8 years ago, which is part of why I have a 92.3% conversion rate today. Right? Obviously, there's other factors. I never want to say like it's one thing, but I think we just forget to make that connection. And I think we forget how every human we serve really well is only going to help increase your future sales conversion rates for so many different reasons. I already talked about this earlier, but I'll say the second one here that I just made a note for myself to reflect to you is screening for fit and not just trying to get the sale. That will, again, even if it means this isn't about trying to get a perfect conversion rate, at all. My conversion rate might go down over the next couple months if I have a bunch of calls with cold leads or something, right? It is what is true in my business right now, and I think I can give you some context and evidence as to why I'm qualified to speak about this and why I know that this strategy and approach works. But I don't want you to get hung up on your conversion rate. If you have a 40% conversion rate and you bring it to a 50% conversion rate, that's great. I don't want you to get hung up on that. But I do think the more you're screening for fit instead of trying to get a sale long term, the more that's going to increase your conversion rate. And then the piece here that I really wanted to share that I think just is something that we just forget has so much impact on your conversion rate are the things that happen before someone ever gets on a call with you. I have done master classes on this. I feel like I've done so much content on this, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly here today. But my messaging, my marketing strategy, my content, my testimonials, right? My customer journey. Essentially, we call that my holistic marketing strategy. Everything that happens before, and of course my mindset, but that's a whole different can of worms. If I'm just looking at my practical strategy, all of that is so much of what leads to a higher conversion rate on a sales call. I've always had a great conversion rate. Well, not always. I should say for the last I've been fully booked in my business for 6 years. For the last 6 years that I've been fully booked, I've probably had between an 80 and 90% conversion rate on average. Maybe there are times with 70%, maybe there are times with 95%, depending on what was going on. And again, I'm talking about discovery calls and consultations, not from free calls. Actually, nuance here. This feels so important because I talk about this with clients all the time. If you're offering free sessions and free audits, your conversion rate is probably going to be much lower, or you're not going to see conversion rates always in the immediate, like some are going to happen immediately and some are going to happen long term, because your free call is really acting as a different tool in your customer journey and sales process. It's acting as a tool to really speed up the know, like, and trust, and also as a conversion tool. But that means for some of you, if your customer journey is 6 months to a year, you might collapse it to 3 months for someone. But if that free call or free audit is their first introduction to you, right? They might not convert on that call. It might take them 3 months because now they're in your world and you've deepened that know, like, and trust. And of course, you'll also have people who book a free call who are ready and like in the right place. So they've been consuming your content for 3 months, where it speeds that up and they're ready to hire you. But your actual conversion rate from that call will probably be lower than your consultations or discovery calls. So again, what I'm talking about today are my discovery calls, my consultations. If I'm offering all free sessions, I still have a great conversion rate there, but it's definitely, I don't know exactly what it is, but it is definitely not the 92.3%, and it is higher, but sometimes it takes a year, right, for that person to come around and hire me. So I just really want to normalize that there, because I think otherwise it's just a slippery slope and people start making themselves wrong. However, what I think my messaging, my marketing strategy, my customer journey, like I think I've always had a great holistic marketing strategy. I've been fully booked for 6 years. It's worked for 6 years. I've always had a high conversion rate on sales conversations. And I also absolutely know, because we've been talking about it so much, the industry has changed over the last year and a half, 2 years. I think it's been about a year and a half now. And a lot of people saw a slowdown in sales, a slowdown in conversion rates, a slowdown in bookings. People closed their doors in business. And I did not. However, for that to be true, I also really dug in over the last year and a half with my coach and on my own to both study, refine, update, essentially make my customer journey and my marketing and my messaging tighter and better. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I still am fully booked and why I still have a great conversion rate, and why most recently, because I think my conversion rate is probably the highest it's ever been. I think one of the reasons for that is because of that past work I did over the last year and a half, because I think we just forget how much your messaging, your positioning, your marketing, like that holistic strategy, everything people consume, everything they interact, everything they come in contact with, all of those touch points that has someone book a consultation or discovery call with you in the first place, how much that sells or does not sell them on you. And so when I tell you people get on a call with me and they tell me why I'm the right person for them, and they essentially sell me on them being a fit and me taking them on as a client, that's one of the reasons why. It's because I have so much content or messaging or marketing that they've been able to interact with, that they've been able to build a relationship with, that they can know all of that before we have a call. So by the time we're having a sales call, that's not the case for everyone, obviously, but for some of my clients, by the time we're having a sales call, it's a call to confirm what they have seen is true and that we are in fact a fit. It is not a call to figure out who I am, to get to know me, to see if I'm the right fit, right? My messaging, my positioning, my marketing has already done that job for me, which if you're new to business, right, that might not be the case. When you're offering free calls, like a free coaching call or free discovery audit or something where you're actually giving some value on the call, right? Part of the reason you're doing that is because maybe you don't have the body of work or those things that can do to build that relationship for you. But I think that's just so important to speak to, as I think that's honestly, yes, I think I'm great at sales calls, but it's not like, I tell this to my clients all the time, I don't have like a magic sentence I say to people. I don't have this like one thing I say to make, when I say this makes people never have an objection. It's not that at all. I would say the magic thing I have is that I'm highly empathetic and really not trying to get a sale on a call, everything we've been talking about. And I'm just so interested in the person in front of me and getting clear on what they want and what's coming up for them and how can I help them make a decision to move towards that. And I'm just so curious and empathetic to like what it's like to be in making a stretchy decision and wanting to support them through that at the expense of me getting what I want, right? Like I just try not to make it about me. I would say that is honestly the thing that makes people feel so good on sales conversations. Like that's my, in air quotes, magic secret or hack, but it's not like I have some sentence where I'm like, here I NLP people to like trick them into like not thinking that this is an expensive investment, because it is fucking expensive and it is stretchy. So it's that, but then again, this is the other secret, is there is a strategy on the front end before I ever get to this call. So the call, it's not about me saying the perfect thing or having a perfect script. Of course, it's about being empathetic and knowing how to sell, right? But my marketing has done that already, and I think that's just something we forget about, or that's just so easy to make yourself wrong for if you haven't had the time in your business to learn that, to master that, to implement that, right? If you're still putting that into place, or you don't have as much of a body of work. And so I think it's just important to both normalize, but also to see the opportunity there. I just want to see if there's a question. Okay, I don't see a question. If you have a question about this, let me know. If not, just because I'm going to run on time for a client call, I'm going to share the last piece here that feels really important. But before I do, I need a sip of water. I will also say before I do, because I always forget to do my own job and pitch, because we don't necessarily always have spots open, but this is quite literally why I created my strategy intensive, Your Marketing Multiplied, because I know if we can hone your messaging, your positioning, and your holistic marketing strategy, meaning so that you have a customer journey and you know how to get visible, how to deepen that relationship with people and help them understand why you're the right fit for them and the best place for them to invest, sales becomes so stupid easy. And that's like a weird juxtaposition or a weird oxymoron. But when we have that in place, everything gets easier. It's also just really tough if you don't know how to bring in leads. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are at sales, right? If you don't know how to bring in leads, like, who the F cares in some ways, because you have no one to sell to. And so I just see this as just such a core piece of business that so many people are missing, or they're like looking for the hack for like how to overcome objections. And like, no, we just need to figure out how to get the right people to understand why you're the right person to hire. So that is why I created my strategy intensive. They have been phenomenal. I've been doing more of them this spring, and I am opening up my Fridays, do a couple more of them this summer. I don't have one-on-one spots opening up until next month, but I am opening up, or I can open up 1 or 2 more strategy intensives. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to drop a link for that after our live stream with a link for a discovery call. So you can join me on a discovery call, or you can book directly. These do tend to book up pretty quickly. So if that's something you've been interested in, I invite you to take me up sooner rather than later. But I do have availability this month because we're opening up Fridays. And then these, if you book one of these and you want to continue with me 6 months, we apply the investment from the intensive towards the 6-month coaching partnership, towards your first month's coaching fees. And so I do have a spot opening up in June? So next month in July for a 1-on-1 spot. So if you did this intensive and you wanted to, you could snag that spot before anyone else, but also get your intensive applied towards your first month coaching fee, which I think is a pretty sweet deal. So I will drop links for that if that's something you're interested in, but I do have intensives available this month. Okay, before my timer goes off here, I'm gonna turn my timer off. I always do this so that because I got a client to make sure that I gotta make sure I'm prepared for and present for. But I've got a couple minutes before I hop off. The last piece I wanted to share here, because this is the easiest sales strategy. The easiest sales strategy that I find most people get wrong, not like you're wrong, but I just find most people get this wrong, and this is what will leave your people feeling seen, heard, supported, understood when you get it right, and it will increase your sales. I don't even know what the exact stat is, but it is something like 80%. It'll increase your conversions like never before. And that is follow-ups, but not any kind of follow-ups, empathetic follow-ups. I know I'm on a tear about empathy, but what I find with follow-ups, probably need to do a whole nother live stream on this. What I find with follow-ups is that most people are not following up. Stats say this. Most people do not follow up. Most business owners, if they are following up, follow up once and then fail to follow up more than that. There's like a small percentage of people who will follow up twice. And most sales happen between the 5th and 12th touch point or follow up. So most people are just leaving so much money on the table, so many clients on the table. Like it is wild. And the other thing I find is for the people who are following up, and I say this with love, I am not calling people out. I'm just saying this as a way of, this is just something to pay attention to. I find for the people who are following up so often, it is automated. It is just like checking something off of a to-do list. It's just like, hey, I'm following up. Did you want to buy this thing? And yes, that is better than not following up at all, absolutely, because you're making the touch point. But what I really find makes all the difference in the world, part of the reason I have a 92.3% conversion rate is not because I'm just like, let me check in. It's because I have an empathetic and personalized follow-up process, and I'm willing to follow up and really support someone through that buying decision. And remember to try to understand and to understand what someone's feeling going through the buying process when I'm reaching out and following up with them. That way, it also doesn't feel pushy. It's not manipulative. I've had people tell me that my follow-up process made them feel so supported, and that is one of the reasons they hired me, because it just showed them how much I cared, and it showed them how I would be working with, like if I could care this much before they paid me money, right? Like what it would be like to work with me. But it also just had them feel so supported, and it helped them get clear on the things they needed to get clear on, because it was never about, do I want this or not? It was about all the stuff that I needed to have some empathy around. And remember, that can come up and feel crunchy when you're making a big investment or deciding to work with someone or trying to grow your business. And so what I find for follow-ups is, again, most people just aren't doing it because, I think most people feel like it's pushy or salesy or gross. And I just want you to see how when you approach follow-ups with empathy and see that this is actually a way to really have someone feel supported and seen, and to show them, I actually want to work with you. I care about you. Let me help you make this decision, because you're not trying to get a sale. You're trying to help someone get clear on what it is they want. When you can make that distinction, and then you're treating your follow-ups as more of a way to be empathetic, like, can I try to understand where someone's at? Can I help them feel seen, heard, and understood? Like, what are they going through? Can I help them navigate this to make this decision? It changes the whole game. So follow-ups will just, like, inherently, any sales score, like, this is not me. This is not brand new information. You've heard this before. There are just, like, stats beyond stats on how effectively following up will increase your conversion rate in sales exponentially. Like it is staggering. Like if you just added one more follow-up to your follow-up process, what that would do for your business. I don't know the math in my business, but we've made a little over 1.4 million in the last five-ish, I guess almost 5.5 years from 101. I would wager like 80% of that is thanks to like all of the factors we're talking about, but that I probably would have missed out, maybe 80's high. No, I bet it's 70 or 80% I would have missed out on if I wasn't following up with care, with empathy, right? If I just can think of so many clients who have worked with me because I'm booking in the right clients and the people who want to be here and who are the right fit, and I'm focused on service and delivery, who don't just hire me once. They hire me and work with me for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? So those follow-ups it's not just like the 6 months, right? It's like years and years of a client and a sale there. And I just think like how many people, it's like been 12 follow-ups. And like, imagine if I hadn't followed up for them, I wouldn't be able to support them. Like I'm thinking about clients of mine who thank me because had I not followed up with them, like they're now making, I have one client who comes to mind, she's worked with me for a while. She's making consistent 12K months now. She was making $500 per month when she started working with me. Or I have another client who comes to mind who crossed the $1 million per year mark last year in business and came to me when they were making about $1,000 per month. Imagine if I had just been like, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be gross. Let me not follow up with them. Like, yes, that would have sucked for me and the revenue because both of those clients I've worked with for, I think, 3 or 4 years. But that also, like, think of how much that would have sucked if I hadn't, like, if I just wasn't willing to follow up. And so now one person's not making $1 million, another person's not making 12K per month. So I think just really seeing how follow-up support you and your people, but really and truly, like, that is, like, that's the linchpin. Is that the right phrase? That's the linchpin in your sales process. But the key here is not just any old follow-up, not just a cold follow-up, not just a copy and paste follow-up. It's not that that's going to hurt. I just don't I don't know how much that's going to serve and support you when you can follow up from that lens of empathy. And remember, empathy doesn't mean taking people's stuff on. It's just about wanting to understand, putting yourself in the shoes of the person who's making that decision and having that conversation. That will change everything. That's how you get a crazy high conversion rate. All right, there are no other questions here, I don't think. So I will love y'all and leave you so that I can go on my client call and prep for that. But if you have questions on the replay, drop them for me. If you're listening in the vault and you have questions for me, DM me on Instagram. That's usually the best place, at Kim Argetsinger, or reply to one of my emails with any questions, and I'll address them. I'll either respond to you personally or I will address them in a future live stream. And then again, if you're interested in a Your Marketing Strategy Intensive, I'm opening up 2 Fridays this month. I will drop a link so you can either directly book or book a free consultation if you want to hop on a call. I'm always happy to have that. Like I said, on this call, I'm not trying to get a sale. I'm sincerely in a very blessed place where I'm fully booked. I'm offering these because they're fun for me to do, and I know how much they can benefit you in business. So I promise you, if I don't think my offer is the right solution for you, or I don't think it can help you, or I don't think it's going to be the thing that can move your business forward, I will very transparently let you know. If I don't think I'm the right fit coaching style wise, I will let you know. But if we are the right fit, I would love to support you. I have been loving these. People are getting incredible results, and it is amazing what we can get clear on and map out strategically within 1 week. And again, if you're eyeing one of my one-on-one spots, I've got one opening up in July. You can either book a consultation to talk about that if you want to just talk about the 6-month coaching partnership. But if you book an intensive, we do apply that to your first month's coaching fees. All right, y'all. I love you. I will see you. Where is I always lose my buttons here. Here we go. End live video. Bye, y'all.